Okay, welcome. Thank you for joining us this evening. This is the University of Spiritual Healing and Sufism. We have Dr. John Davies, John Abd Davies, with us this evening, presenting on finding yourself in relationship. Finding yourself in relationship. I can certainly relate to losing myself in relationship over many years. So I know this is a very worthwhile topic because who can sustain that, right? So before we get started, I'll just say a couple words about Dr. Davies. And there are a lot of words to say about Dr. Davies. He's an amazing man. If you've had the privilege to meet him, you know what I'm talking about. He exudes peace from his being and from his smile and from every part of himself. Reminds me years ago when I was, launching into the whole business of spiritual healing as a profession, right? I was speaking with a woman who is a psychic, and she said, when what you do becomes just a part of who you are, as opposed to, you are separate and the healing is something that you're doing, then your business will take off. And, over the years, I've really gotten what she meant by that. And I can say that with Dr. Davies, from knowing him, he is what he does. He does peace, and he is peace. He really, in every fiber of his being, carries such a deep peace. It's what he's done. It's what he's specialized in, and it's really who he is, a part of him. So I'll say a little bit. He's got more letters after his name than the alphabet when it comes to all of the degrees that he has, in addition to then going through the University of Spiritual Healing and Sufism. I don't see that one on, well, I mean, it's in the bio, of course, but I know that one earns you a few letters too, I think. But he is a faculty member at the University of Spiritual Healing and Sufism. He's partners with Nura Laird on the peacemaking program, and he and Nura have developed a peacemaking curriculum that is, it's really out of this world in many literal and figurative ways. It incorporates the Sufi teachings, of course, with all of the incredible background that Dr. Davies has. He's also the co-director of the Partners in Conflict and Partners in Peace Building projects at the Center for International Development and Conflict Management at the University of Maryland. And he's practiced law and psychology, taught meditation in Australia. He moved to the U.S. in '82. You can tell he has a little bit of an accent. We love his accent. And he has led or partnered in conflict transformation and peace-building initiatives in over 25 countries. He has trained thousands of professionals in conflict transformation, prevention, and multi-track diplomacy, including political leaders and diplomats, UN peacekeepers, police, educators, religious, traditional, and civil society leaders. He has conducted extensive research on the impact of spiritual and secular techniques in promoting peace, which has been widely published. He served as a consultant to various U.S. departments and international governments and organizations, and he really makes this work his life. He's dedicated, with all of that stuff that he's done on, on the global level, and organizational level, and political level, he's really dedicated to people like you and me. So I feel like we're just very honored, and I say this with sincerity and with, this from the bottom of my heart. I am in awe that we have him here with us, and we're just honored, truly honored to have your wisdom and insights here to share with us. So thank you, Dr. Davies, for being here, al-Qadir, and I'll turn it over to you now.
Indeed. Thanks, Ms. Joy. And just to say that I feel grateful for the gifts that have been given, or the loans that have been given. for this life, and very conscious of how this is, we don't normally hear someone described in such glowing terms. But if we really get to know and connect with anyone on this planet, we can give them just as glowing, just as beautiful a resume as Master has just given me. But the difficulty is that we're not yet paying enough attention to see that in everyone that we meet. So that Master has emphasized some gifts, but what is really needed is for us to be able to find those gifts in everyone that Allah puts in front of us. And this is the key to finding the beauty in others. We start to find and live the beauty in ourselves. It's a two-way exchange, but I really want to emphasize tonight how important it is to our journey to be able to enter into a relationship looking for the beauty in each other, because the beauty comes from the part of us that is most real, most true, that defines most completely who we are. And if we stop with anything less, if we judge someone as not beautiful, then this keeps us in separation. It keeps us blinded to what Allah is showing us through this person. Okay, so this is just a core principle in the walking. Not that we are looking away for reality, but we're looking at the deeper reality in everyone, which allows us to be able to connect with them through the heart and soul, so that we can know them in a much more complete way than is possible from just assessing them from the outside. So, so tonight I'd like to maybe just share some thoughts about different aspects of the process of finding ourselves through relationship. I'll stop at a couple of different times in the process to invite questions, and really encourage you to step in and speak what's in your mind, in your heart, question or reflection, whatever, so that will help us connect on the call and help this to deepen the conversation we can have beyond what I can do in isolation. So I'm grateful, equally grateful, as Master, to be with all of you tonight and to be able to find those places of connection. It's a gift to me. It's a source of insight and inspiration to me each time. And so I'm grateful for you to be here, and I'm looking forward to a conversation. If you feel shy to share your name when you speak, that's okay. Just forget that part and just say what you have to say, because I want to encourage you to feel, in whatever way you feel safe and comfortable, to be able to step in and ask questions. So I'll stop 2 or 3 times and ask for questions on the way, and so that we can really lean the conversation in the direction that is really responsive to whatever's coming up into your heart right now. So if we're talking about opening the heart, opening to the reality of who we are, then this is the way that I find gives us the best results. Okay. So good place to start is just with the question, who are we? Who are we? If we're looking to find ourselves, who are we looking to find, and who is it that is looking? We might have ideas about that. We might have beliefs about that. But be very careful of beliefs and ideas, because they can become veils for allowing in anything more, at least anything radically new or different from what we've experienced in the past. We hold on to those familiar ideas of ourselves, then that will become, at least as far as we're conscious, who we are. And it actually shuts off our capacity to be able to go deeper and know more of ourselves. So going deeper can happen both in our own spiritual practices, just between myself and Allah, and it can also happen in our daily interactions with other people in relationship. Okay? In fact, the reason we call this the way of the love is if we want to find the wholeness, the unity of who we are, then we have to start by finding that unity in relationship, finding that wholeness in relationship. It breaks our pictures of ourselves as separate individuals. And separation obviously veils us from connection and love and unity. So Sufi teaching is that when Allah made us in spirit, He made beauty. When Allah made us, He made beauty. This is what we call our fitra, or our true divine nature. And it has that quality of beauty, of wholeness, and the qualities which go with those qualities are qualities like love and mercy, kindness, caring, strength and gentleness, wisdom, peace. Okay, these are all ways of describing our fitra, who we are. Each one of us is made uniquely. We're fitted out for our own individual journey, which is unique, different from anyone else. Okay, to find out who we are, finding ourselves. So, if He made us, in making us, He made beauty, well, what happens? We don't always feel beautiful. We don't always come across as beautiful to other people. So what happens? We see ugliness in our life, in ourselves, when we lose our connection with our source and sustainer. That, in creating us in spirit, Allah God gave us the freedom and the capacity to enjoy the fruits of life together on the planet. And from His love for us, He called us to remember Him. Don't forget Him. In other words, maintain your connection with your divine source. And that connection, to the degree that we maintain that, opens up the degree of nurturing and guidance and support that we can receive from that source. So, in remembering Him, reconnecting with Him, we recognize or are reminded, really, of the fundamental unity of our existence. It's like we're reminded of the single spirit or soul or intelligence of which we are a unique expression or facet or mirror, if you like. So that not only is the underlying reality of the universe a unified field, but each of us is not separate from that unity. We've just forgotten our connection. Usually we've been socialized far enough, by, at least a couple of years old, that we've started to identify as separate individuals. And really not have the same intimate connection we had at the beginning. We start to define ourselves by our separate bodies, even from about age 1. And so in defining ourselves as separate, and from our socialization, we take on these pictures, which give us a new identity that we have created. Okay? So when we're looking at ourselves to understand who we are, we forget that what we look at most of the time is something that we have created ourselves, that we've put together from different pictures and episodes and trauma that we've experienced in our life that have led us to take on certain judgments or beliefs or habits, ways of protecting ourselves, ways of justifying ourselves, ways of surviving or coping in the world. And these are only very small echoes of who we really are. But if we habitually turn and pay attention to those and use these pictures or habits to be able to keep our life predictable and safe as our primary goal, then, that's what our guide says, it ruins us, because the nature of life is to continue to move and change and open up. So it's constant movement, not protecting a rigid structure of self, which, the rigid structure we can call ego, in the sense that we are somehow the center of the world and we are uniquely responsible for everything that comes for us. We can take the credit for everything good. We can avoid if we can, or otherwise accept the blame that comes to us for our shortcomings. But rather, we're given choice so that we could learn more rapidly. We could learn not only by getting things right, but by making mistakes and learning what it feels like to be out of the love, to be disconnected, isolated, and alone. Alone in the sense of feeling deeply inner disconnection, not just outer. So not aloneness as a retreat, but alonement as isolation and separation. So through these contrasts that we come to know by degrees, by steps, who we are. So, but we, at every stage of the journey, there is a deep longing in our heart that is never lost completely. The longing to know the essence and the completeness of who we are. And that is our deep inner guide. So it can go beyond our preoccupation with survival and protecting what we have into being able to step into vulnerability, to be able to step into the unpredictability of life, trusting what we've been given enough to be able to let go our defenses and start to really open and connect with what is. Whatever God has given us, whoever He puts in front of us, and whatever situation He puts in front of us. So, and as we start to to do that, we start to see the contrast between the self that we've created, that we've built. You know, it's a saying that it's beautiful. It's from a famous author. Anyway, her name is escaping right now, but she said that the world, we see the world not as it is. Rather, we see the world as we are. And so we come to know who we are by paying attention to how we see the world, by how we see others. Okay? If we see the world as we are, then pay attention to how we are perceiving and receiving and responding to another. Is that something that is actually dishonoring them or honoring them? Is it seeing the beauty in them, or is it seeing ugliness? Okay. So remember that whatever we're seeing in the other is a reminder or a mirror of what we're seeing in ourselves. Anais Nin was the author that quote. I think it really captures something essential that we don't remember enough. So if we're paying attention to the outside and we're not getting the fact that in how we see the other, we're in fact seeing ourselves, then it's what we call the world of the nafs, which we can translate as the ego oriented to the material world. Okay, not remembering on the inner the deep reality of who we are. And so in that place of separation, we want to keep ourselves safe. We want to keep our life predictable. We want to be able to feed ourselves, to own things. We want to be able to have a sense of control or command over things around us, people around us, particularly those who might be threatening to us otherwise, as completely separate beings. And we want to enjoy each other. We want to propagate ourselves through sexual relationship. Okay, all of these are sort of the bodily appetites or desires that can take over from the world of the ego. What is not amongst those desires or the awareness that is lived in the world of separation, what is not there is love. And what is not there is deep connection with others. We have regard for others depending on how useful they are for us, rather than recognizing that this is an opportunity to deeply connect and to open ourselves to a level of our own reality that we've forgotten. So, in this world, if something is ugly or threatening or wrong in some way, we look to the cause outside. And meaning we're quick to judge others as being the source of the problem. And we blame them for our problems. So, and we take this either as proof that we're the good guys, because we don't do those terrible things. And this is true on the individual level in our personal relationships. We look down on others. We are arrogant toward others in judging them that way and regarding ourselves as paying attention to the way in which we are better than that. And so this is one way in which we can react. Or another way we can react is by seeing ourselves as victims of other people's wrongdoing. And that way, by seeing ourselves as victim, we actually disempower ourselves because we see our safety and well-being as dependent on others' actions in relation to us. Our happiness depends on their changing their behavior. So in Sufism, this is pointed to as that's the primary veil that separates us from the divine. That if we're depending on others as the source of our happiness, the source of our well-being, rather than connecting to our own source, our own divine sustainer, then that outward dependence, it's as if we're worshiping that person, we're bowing to them. And so we become a dependent person, disempowered. And frankly, because that dependence doesn't allow us really to express and to fulfill ourselves. And so the result of that is suffering at every level of life. That, we can see the mutual blame that's being thrown around in the current presidential debates, where people are campaigning by appealing to people's fears and pointing to the other person as someone that they should run away from if they want to pay attention to the fear. And so this leaves the country more divided, more polarized, and less able to do good. Either macro level, we tend to get ourselves caught in conflict in ways that are not helpful, not constructive too often. I'm not saying we don't also do good things at the national level, but we're making too many mistakes these days for our own good. And the same thing happens on the individual level, that people see themselves as victims, or they see themselves as having to manipulate others in order to stay safe. So that the result of that is both within the family or in personal relationships, as well as on national and international levels. We find suffering, we find injustice, we find violence, and we find oppression. Okay, so from here, the Sufism opens up the way of the love for us. And I say opens up because the way of the love is really the path, the universal path to self-realization. And but for me, Sufism, particularly as taught at our university and by our guide, Sidi Muhammad al-Jamal, that it is the most direct and complete and practical expression of the way of the love that I've found in decades of travel around the world, working in different environments. It's the universal journey. It's the journey that we're all on. Before I go any further, let's stop there a bit and see if there's any questions. Am I making sense? Am I speaking to what you would like to focus on tonight? And I'm really happy to open for any questions that you might have, any reflections that you have, that things that I've covered so far or not clear, or that I haven't touched on yet that you would like me to touch on.
Okay, so if you're on the phone, press star 2. If you're on the webcast, just type in your question and press enter. And Go back and forth and refresh my screen. So there's a question that, let me take this one from, okay, let's see. There's a couple of questions coming in from Sioux Falls, South Dakota. You're unmuted.
Oh, yes, that's me.
That's you, yes.
Yes. My name is Michira, and I'm calling from South Dakota, and I guess I don't have a particular question, but maybe a reflection on what has been said so far, and because I'm trying to, look at myself and my patterns and relationships, and maybe I need, and I do need guidance, because it's been very evident to me that in my own relationships, I yearn for, or my ego yearns for that acceptance. So I may seem to do things out of the, I stretch myself and do things, and to anyone who examines that from the outside, it seems like I'm giving of myself, but I know for a fact that's my ego. I'm yearning for that. Oh, you're so good. Oh, you're so given. And I'm always torn, because I feel that that's not pure niya of doing good, because I'm waiting for that acknowledgement.
Right. So it's not a pure giving, you're saying, because you're looking for a trade here, something for your
yes,
own.
And sometimes I can distance myself from that need, and other times it's very, very difficult not to wait for that, not to wait for, you're the best, you're the, whatever, the situation entails. But, and sometimes it's very evident, and maybe other times it's not as evident. But I guess what I'm saying is it's always there, and I don't know how to surpass that, how to, silence that.
Yeah.
That me.
Okay. Good. Okay. Beautiful question. Thank you for sharing it. And so, looking for guidance in your own relationships, and seeing how strongly there's that yearning for acceptance from the other, that your giving is looking for the acceptance. And so it feels like something that is holding you within the limits of the ego, right? And so, whereas, so there might be, I'm sure there are times, as there are for most of us, where that is the case. But when you're looking for acceptance, it can be going one of two ways, at least two ways. One is, as you say, you're looking to be able to just get that value of being accepted back. And to feel good about yourself, right? And if that's consciously what you're looking for in any particular time when you're really giving to someone, then yeah, the ego's getting in the way. But there's a way in which acceptance goes beyond the ego. That when we're looking for acceptance, we're actually looking for an opening, someone who is willing to connect with us, heart to heart, right? Not so that I get something out of them that then is all about my ego, but because the heart is drawn to the bigger reality that opens up through love. Okay, so so acceptance might be just that opening for you to be able to connect into intimacy with that person, And this person can be a beloved friend or family member or stranger, right? Love doesn't happen just between people who know each other well or live together. It happens, even in short bursts, short moments, in interactions with anyone God puts in front of us. Okay? And so just, first suggestion would be to really pay attention, discern. When am I, because what your intention is in what you give the other is more important than the physical reality of what you give. Okay, it's what's behind it. So if your intention is really to connect with that person, to open to them, to their heart, wherever they are, then that's opening to love. And that, is from a deep place in you, and it's not going to exhaust you. It's not because you're not giving from that limited, bounded place of yourself, which is your ego, your nerves. You're giving from a deeper place, which is constantly replenished to the extent that you're open. Okay, does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes, it does. Thank you.
Good. So, and so it's like opening to someone, connection to with someone like that. It's very closely connected with what I was just talking about in terms of looking for the beauty in each person, or in each critter, for that matter, or each thing that God puts in front of you, and everything in front of us He puts there. So I'm just saying it that way as a reminder that the world is not an accidental place. Chance is just a clumsy effort to describe what's way more complex than we're able to track. And so one way to move along the path of the love is to open to that connection through relationship, and with loving relationship, meaning it's not self-seeking in that narrow, selfish sense of the ego. And that it is simply giving because you are not holding this person in separation from you. And one of the teachings that comes up in all the great spiritual traditions around the world is to love your brother or your sister as yourself. To love for your brother or your sister what you love for yourself. Right? And because this is, again, an expression of this choice to be able to turn back to the unity and to reconnect through relationship. And we do that not even so that Allah will favor us. Or we might do it for that, but if we do it for the deeper reason of just giving, not for our own sake, but for the sake of the other, for the sake of Allah, then that will be a more powerful opening, more complete opening for us, a deeper recognition of who we are. So if we completely give without looking for reward, then that is in itself is a reminder and a recognition and a clear intention to be able to step into that place of unity through loving people, through being kind, through being gentle and compassionate, empathetic with people that come in front of us. And the other way to be able to get past these habits of the ego is to simply take up the practice of, or one of many practices of remembrance of the unity, remembrance of Allah, God. And what I really want to emphasize tonight is that it's not just the inner meditation or deep prayer on the divine presence, but the divine presence is also in any place that we see unity. So it's there between two of us when we really connect. Right? When we see the beauty in each other, when we hear what's coming from the other person's heart in what they say, not just what the words they might be using to communicate that, but the meaning that gets transmitted from the heart through interactions, whether through words or without words. So, for example, the recent research on the psychophysiology of love affirms that when two people come together, connect in love in that way, whether it's a mother breastfeeding a child or two beloveds being intimate with each other, or between two friends or even strangers who are just choosing to open to each other, to reveal something that might actually make them feel quite vulnerable, or to listen with real appreciation and gratitude to what the person is giving, in order to be able to allow ourselves to be touched by them. That opening also now is being found to have the same physiological signature for us as the inner opening to God has. And so, for example, what's found is that the two hearts will fall into synchrony with each other, beating together in perfect harmony. As the hearts beat together, the brainwave patterns tend to fall also into synchrony with each other. The breath changes. The biochemistry changes. There's a whole bunch of things that very quickly start to change as we fall into that place. It's actually what is happening, that our body is mirroring the unity that we're experiencing in that place of love. So that as our body experiences the unity of no boundaries left with this person, we're having the same experience, we're sharing an experience here, okay? With or without that conscious reflection. But the reality is tasting the lack of separation between the two of us, complete unity between the two of us through love. And that gets reflected then in the unity within each of our bodies, that the heart settles into a rhythm, the brain comes into greater coherence within itself, greater integration, and its wave patterns are synchronized within the patterns of the heart. Not just the main beat, but the secondary beats of the heart can be quite complex patterns. And the breath and the rest of the physiology follow. So physically, we become unified. And it's only when we're fully coherent in ourselves, in harmony with our own heart, mind and heart are together. They're not separate anymore. Left and right halves of the brain are not separate anymore. They're fully coordinated. Front and back of the brain, sensory cortex and prefrontal cortex, which governs our moral choices and guides us into wise choices. These all come into synchrony, so that we are living in that moment from a place of wholeness, which is much bigger than the narrow boundaries of the ego. And so we feel the freedom and expansion of that experience of love. And that it's interesting that these realities have been there from the beginning in the teachings of the path of the love. And so but it's just now that it's being recognized that scientific tools have become sophisticated enough to be able to catch something of the truth of that. As a reflection, doesn't catch the reality. We can't directly measure an abstract taste, but we can measure the correlates on the physical level with that, or the energetic correlates with that, and can then that might help us, get beyond the sort of dualism of the inside and the outside, and start to embrace the inside connection through which we're all expressions of one. Okay, so I've probably taken way too long to answer that question. Are there any other questions or reflections that people would like to share?
Yeah, so we have, I'm using cell phone from Irvine, California.
I'll do that.
Cell phone from Irvine. Hi, there we are.
Hi. I actually just got back from my first semester at the Land. I just started. My name is Fatima. And alhamdulillah, I mean, wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. It's been an amazing experience, and I'm feeling so many changes already. I am still detecting a kind of resistance to embracing this new me and having it go even deeper into the love and into the teachings. And somehow there's a picture inside of me that it's as if it is mutually exclusive to have, go about my normal relationships in the world and whatever is expected of me as a wife and as a mom, as a daughter, whatever that role may be. And for me to just throw myself in that ocean, that's my heart's desire. And kind of having to balance somewhat these two things, and just the pull of that, of sometimes experiencing that desire completely, and then having to come back, well, you still got to do this, this, and that. What are you doing? So that's my experience right now. And just wanted to get your feedback on that.
Okay. Yeah, so feeling and tasting the beauty of what experience you shared over the week at the SIP University, but at the same time feeling a resistance to just diving in and really opening to that, really allowing yourself to be vulnerable without your familiar defenses and habitual ways of being with people that has created safety for you. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
So, so it comes up in relationship where there's not yet a harmony between the inside experiences open for you and your habits of communicating with family, your husband, your rest of your family. And so this in itself is creating a sense of separation, right? That it's difficult to share it, and difficult to trust that if you make yourself truly vulnerable by trying to share what it is, that somehow that's not going to be honored, or that it might lead to difficulty or painful interaction. And so that's the ego doing its job. The ego wants to keep you safe, and so there's hesitancy, and but the difference is that as we open to the love, we find that our safety increasingly is not from these formulas or habits or patterns of interaction that we've developed that allow us to interact smoothly. But more fundamentally, it's from maintaining our connection with the divine, whether it's connecting on the inside to our inner remembrance of the divine, or whether it's connecting through the outside, through seeing of Allah's beauty, through seeing our own beauty reflected in the other. And so that is going to give you a different foundation for safety that will give you the freedom to be able to open and deepen the experiences that you've been tasting already. And it will open it because it will be, when you're open like that, the body goes into that place of integrity, of full functioning. And then that's when it's able to throw off, if we're talking about the body, throw off the wounds or injuries or places that hurt. It allows us to heal those places. It's not we who heal ourselves. The healing comes through us when we get out of the way, when we can really open to that place of connection inside, which actually then frees our capacity, a natural, inherent capacity to be able to heal what separates us. Does that make sense so far?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. That's very helpful, actually.
Alhamdulillah. Okay, well, let me just leave it there for now and check if there are any other questions before we move on.
Okay, so we have one more from Des Moines, Iowa. You are now unmuted.
Hello, assalamu alaikum. My name's Ahmad.
Ahmad, wa alaikum salam. Come.
So I had a question with regards to, so you mentioned that we need to rely on Allah and not others as to if somebody changes their, whatever it is that they're doing, then things will be better for us. But what about cases of, like, if you're facing oppression of some form or another, what about in those cases?
Okay. So if we're faced with some immediate threat, whether it's oppression or it's violence, or it's just a car coming down the street that is going to hit us if we don't move, then it's just something that we can defend ourselves as far as it's necessary, but we don't escalate, we don't hurt anyone where it's not necessary. But someone that wants that is after us, trying to hurt us, or has already hurt us, then we don't escalate beyond the level of force that they have used. That's it's okay to do that. There's nothing wrong with defending yourself proportionally like that. But what we're called to in every case, whenever that permission is given in our tradition, it's always followed by or accompanied by the call to go one better. That if we can, when someone's throwing stones at us, throw back dates instead. Throwing back stones is not going to protect you as much as throwing back things that are helpful, that are nourishing, that are beneficial to the other. even if they can't recognize or receive them at first. We're always looking to be able to move from separation to connection. It means moving from being defined as an enemy to being defined potentially as an intimate, a friend, someone we understand and trust. And this is what the journey of peacemaking is. But it's not just a journey of peacemaking, it's a journey of life. And so we're called to reconcile. We're called to really look for the opportunity to be able to move from confrontation to connection, to be able to, where someone acknowledges, for example, that they have done us an injustice or been oppressive toward us or violent toward us or dishonest, whatever toward us, to be willing to forgive that, to be grateful for the acknowledgement and to completely extend forgiveness so that we open the door again to connection. Okay? Rather than being stuck on wanting to punish or to get back at the other, which is permitted within certain bounds, but it really is a falling off of the path of the love because we've missed an opportunity to connect to love. Okay, so it doesn't mean we can't defend ourselves. There's permission where it's appropriate. Get your child out of the road of the car that is barreling down the road. Get your if you're living in an oppressive situation, if there's nothing you can do about it by speaking truth from love, then move, change your circumstances. But better than just speaking truth to oppressive power is to speak from the love, truth to power. And because that invites, it respects the inherent worth of the other. And at the same time, uses that connection, if need be, or as needed, to be able to point out the way in which other people are suffering, for example, from their acts or a particular act. Speaking truth in a way, speaking from love means that you're looking for the way in which the person could be able to receive what you're saying and really get the good intention behind it, rather than simply presenting yourself as someone who's showing up to do battle because they've judged you as being bad or an oppressor. So that's a teaching that too often gets lost. And so you find people perpetrating all sorts of violence in the name of Islam, in the name of peace. And, this it just leads to tremendous suffering and confusion. And, our concern is to be able to get as much clarity out there to save people from making those mistakes the best we can. Does that respond to your question?
Yes. And more I was focusing on how to be when faced with such a situation. And I wasn't thinking of the extreme circumstances. It was more like, let's say, bullying or just, day-to-day life situations that one might face. Those sorts of things.
Yeah. So, so bullying at school for a child to be able to be encouraged not to simply comply with the bully's demands or to run away all the time, because then again they get to a place of dependence where their happiness and their freedom depends on the behavior of the bully. And that gets internalized, and people then begin to bully or sabotage themselves and undercut the beauty of their own life.
Yeah, and,
So,
and that requires
yes.
you to do some outward action rather than going inside, and just relying on Allah. That's why I was a little bit confused on this topic.
Mm-hmm. So, okay, let's deepen this example a little bit more. It's a good question, really good question. If someone, for example, is oppressing us by yelling at us, right, in a blaming way, we could either accept the invitation to step into a fight with them, yelling back, for example. We don't escalate. But maybe this person is bigger than us, that we know that the outcome of those fights are not usually helpful. Then better, what we're called to is look and listen more deeply. Don't just listen to the words on the surface. Where are those words coming from? Why are they so angry? And why is that anger being directed toward us? It might seem like an obvious question, but it's often one we don't ask. When we make a whole bunch of assumptions, and we tend to try to react quickly and push back quickly if we're subjected to that situation. But better is if you can take the opportunity to reflect. Maybe it'll be a moment, maybe it'll mean that you need to excuse yourself and pick up the conversation later. But take the time to reflect on where that anger is coming from. What is it behind the anger? Often anger, for example, is an expression of grief. The person is still grieving something that they've lost. Or it can be from fear that they are actually insecure and frightened, and they're trying to sort of gain control of the situation by dominating you and telling you what has to be done. It could be a number of different things. There might be misinformation that they have about you. So listen. Why are they angry? He is trying to connect with their heart already. There's nothing necessarily bad about fear or anger or sadness. They're all natural functions of the heart. The heart, I'm talking about the emotional, spiritual heart. And so tune into that. See what's behind the anger, what other feelings are there, and why it is that they're angry. Not one important guideline here that I found really helpful when I first heard it is that no one else can make you angry. No one else can make you angry. It's a strategic choice you've gotten that can make you intensely alert. But translating that rush of energy into anger, on some level, is a choice, conscious or unconscious. It is yours. And so when you're asking, why is this person angry with me? You're looking for that. What was it that is driving that anger? And if you're looking for the deep reality of who the person is, remember that they were created as beauty. You're looking for what it is that they're, from the soul, they're yearning for. Not just with their elbows, what the ego wants, but what is the deep yearning of the soul? Are they wanting safety? Is that where they're trying to be in control? Are they wanting justice? Have they been hurt unjustly and have had their trust in justice shaken? Then there might be coming from there that has made them angry and bitter. And so because we see the world as we are, that will mean that it will be very easy for them to interpret something that was said or done as more injustice toward them and really direct anger at us, try to control us through bullying, through oppression. Okay? And so looking for that deeper truth in them, their yearning for justice. Look at the difference. You go from being startled by this potentially dangerous behavior to connecting and recognizing yourself in the other. That you recognize and connect with them because that same need for justice is also true for you. So when you're looking for that, what you'll find is when you've hit on what it really is that they're needing at the deep level, even though they're not conscious of it, it'll just open your own heart. You'll feel the connection with them immediately. And then from that place of understanding, you can express empathy for them. It's just like, when we learn martial arts, we learn not to stand there like a brick wall and push back the same way as we're being attacked. We learn to move and keep aside and use the momentum of the attack to be able to change the relationship.
I'm a little
yeah.
I'm a little bit then it feels very good what you're saying, but at the same time, then how? Then we can't blame anybody for anything. Like they're all innocent, really.
The ego will be out of a job.
I mean, every oppressor is pretty much innocent then, because it's just the state that their heart is in. That's why they're acting such a way. It can be explained, but what about their actions? There's no consequence to them, and they're not in the same state as I might be in, even if I do connect with their heart.
Right. So this is where we have to have trust in what we've been given, to be willing to, instead of following and playing safe, being willing to lead. So if the sort of conversation I want to have with this person is not an argument or a fight, it's a conversation that will open a deeper understanding of each other and allow ourselves to find ways of helping each other in meeting our needs, to change the relationship, in other words. That would be my choice. And if I'm trusting what I've been given, then I'll look for the opportunity to be able to provide leadership from love to that person. They may or may not be willing to accept it. But in my experience, if I've offered that and they don't run away, that eventually that anger will subside, sometimes very quickly, sometimes immediately, because they're so completely taken off guard by a response which is full of empathy and concern and potentially insight for them, that they have to reorient right away. Others might keep yelling for a while until they get that we really are quite clear and firm in where we're coming from, that we're really not going to accept an argument. And you don't refuse an argument by saying, I refuse to have an argument, because already you've got an argument over whether you're going to have an argument or not. And rather, you refuse the argument by simply paying attention to what is real in the person, more real than the aggressive behavior on the outside, looking at the inner. And then finding a way of speaking to that, expressing empathy, expressing appreciation for the difficulty they might be in, and offering help if you feel called to that. But particularly if there's, you can see in their demands a question or an asking for help that you could actually give without it creating an imbalance, then why not go ahead and give that if you can't see it, or if the other person doesn't shift to accept your leadership in deciding what sort of conversation you're going to have, then then you've got all of the alternatives that you would have had otherwise. You can defend yourself if necessary by pushing back proportionally. You can excuse yourself from the room and without making judgment. You don't have to make judgment. The thing is, if you said sometimes there might be times when we have to make judgment. If going to judgment is going to take us out of love, don't waste your time. One of the teachings in the tradition is to speak truth to power, to be able to stand for what is right and avoiding what's wrong. However, if that quality of truth, you're standing for that without also standing for love, the chances of that stance bearing fruit are much less. Because the unity means the unity of truth and love. It means the unity of all opposites. So you don't want to get entrenched on one side of that without also finding not only the opposite, but the unity amongst all aspects of multiplicity. It's not the truth and love are opposite to each other, although sometimes they're treated that way. I'm going to tell you the truth is often a prelude or a way of saying, I've lost my connection with the love, so I'm just going to speak to you bluntly, even though it's going to hurt. Right? It's like when parents have to use tough love with their children. When the child is acting inappropriately or in ways that are hurtful to others, then there's times when we have to be tough in the way we deliver love. But we don't be tough without love. That's the last choice. And we always are looking for the other. And if we want to truly find ourselves in the full extent of our wholeness and completion, then we need to get rid of those exceptions and have that love be a 24/7 reality, not something that we put together from the ego that we manipulate into our picture of love, but by casting aside love, allowing ourselves to be vulnerable, allow ourselves to trust our heart and inner knowing, and be able to respond to the beauty in the other, whether it's responding to the beauty in the other or in their search for beauty, because really they're the same thing on the inside. Does that help? Ahmed?
Yep, definitely. I think I got a pretty decent answer.
Alhamdulillah. Okay.
Abdul-Qadir, there is another question that was on the webcast that I
okay. Well, let's,
Okay. Is there time to take that one?
Why not?
Okay, great. I'm loving the teachings that come from the questions. Sometimes I think that, the best teachings come from the questions.
That's right.
They really do. Okay, so it says, Assalamu alaikum. I'm Sarah from Argentina, so grateful for your talk. Alhamdulillah. My question is how to help open the hearts of the children that I work with as they go through situations such as depression, anger bursts, feelings of alienation, and of not being loved. In other words, what I'm trying to say is how to ask children how to walk through the dense world we are in at the moment.
Yeah, beautiful question. So you're, you're seeing children. What age children are you working with? Sarah?
If you want to type that in, I'm reading that from the webcast. So Sarah, if you want to type that in, I'll relay that information.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So let's start responding anyway. We're waiting for that answer. Okay. That you talked about how we are made in spirit as beauty, as wholeness, a complete being, human being. And that only manifests gradually by degrees on the physical level. But in spirit, we start from wholeness. And as we start stepping into the physical world, then we're going to be experiencing events that can really trigger us, where people are not giving us the love that we yearn for, that we've learned that we're given as the truth of what life is. And if instead we're given pain and rejection and alienation, or events that invite those spaces, then there's extreme pain there. And these are the scars that go deepest into the innocence of the child's heart, the purity of the child's heart. Go these deep wounds that shape their lives from there on, and until we're able to travel far enough to really clean them and purify them, or open to them being cleaned. So the main answer, central answer to your question, is to love them, so that they receive the core need that they're missing, particularly children who are alienated and angry. They're missing love. They're missing connection. So if you're listening deeply to them, you're listening for what's the need behind it. Okay? If it's the need for connection, the need for love, might be just need for kindness. It might be just the need for sorting out a sense of injustice and help in that way. So, first step is to love them and to look for the beauty in them. And then as you start to understand what it is or how it's expressing itself at the moment, then you can respond to that with appreciation and honor them for that. Okay? So you're with the child. You reflect back what of truth he's shared with you. Not the judgments, not the angry name calling. Don't repeat that back. But reflect back with them the truth of what they've shared with you, or those parts of what they've shared that is true, what are true, that ring true to you, and you reflect it back with respect, with love, with appreciation, not with judgment or criticism. And that way, there's an immediate relief for the child. Or it might be that they'll have their defenses so entrenched that it'll take longer than being immediate. But it'll need patience to be able to continue to build trust with them, knowing that you're not going to repeat the attacks or the woundings of the past. Okay? And engaging them in new activities that they can enjoy or benefit from. And then in those activities, again, looking, listening, what is moving, what is real in this child, what are they feeling? All of these things help them to find who they are and to be validated and affirmed in who they are, rather than being told, no, you're not a good person until you do this, this, and this. Right? This is not affirming. This is trying to chisel someone from the outside in, instead of, to create a good person, quote unquote, instead of really connecting with the beautiful person that was there from the beginning, but has become hidden. Okay. Does that make sense, Sarah? Could either speak verbally if you're able, or text back, whichever way.
Yeah, that would be if you can, just so you know, the ages were 6 to 17, I believe. So, Sarah, if you want to, let's see. This is Sarah. Oh, no. She says she can't hear you. Let's see.
Oh, dear.
I'm so sorry. She said that for some reason no sound was coming out when you were answering her question. Inshallah. Well, she must have heard. Sorry, I hope that you heard some of it, and you will hear the recording, because the recording will be available at the link that you're accessing this call. As soon as we end the call, you'll be able to send it back. She does say, thank you, beloved. You are a true gift from Allah, and the deepness of your answers has taken me to the world of the soul, I think.
Thank you. So, good. I think we're probably at a stage. Well, let me just say one or two sentence summary of my answer there, in case that might sort of help make up for what was missed. That we can help open the hearts of the children, even when they're stuck in anger or alienation, by looking and listening and interacting with them from love. In other words, looking for what is beautiful in them, and even if it means that you're looking behind their words rather than in the words themselves, looking to how they're feeling, what's the emotion that's moving their heart, what is the yearning of the soul that is behind that feeling, that has them choosing anger right now or choosing separation. And once you get in touch with that need, whether it be for fairness or love or connection or safety or rest or food or whatever it is, then you look, okay, is there a simple request in there that you can respond to? And you can recognize that need and recognize that request, honor how they're feeling about it, and find a way to be able to help them address their need. They're the ones responsible for their need. You're not responsible to meet their needs. But love seeks to meet the needs of the other, because we don't hold them separate. And so the child has to do their learning and go through the different steps of healing for themselves. But if you can build trust through your response of holding them in love, seeing the beauty in them, that will help them start to trust the beauty in themselves and the strength that they carry, and allow them to begin to heal and to come back to love. Okay, so I think we really are we've taken all the time we can for questions. So let me pass back to you, Mr. If there's anything that you want to add. I mean, I noticed that there have been some of the people on the call are already in the university's programs, and really just want to encourage others of you to be able to check out our website and have a look at the resources that are available there. If there's anything between a single seminar like this or a 4-year master's degree at this stage. And so if you have any questions about that, then, you know, Mr. and I'll be happy to respond, or Mr., if you'd like to give a bit more detail than I have, whatever you'd like to add, please.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. A couple of things. as Abdul Qadir said, we do have a 4-year master's program in addition to these free teleclasses that we do, and we have some distance learning opportunities as well that are in webinar form that are, like multi-week courses. To find out the best way, if you're interested in taking a next step and you'd like some help on what that next step might be, we have a website. It's sufiuniversity.org/info, INFO, which is short for information. And that is a page that we keep up to date with what's going on. I see that there's a banner there that needs to be changed right now from spring enrollment. We are enrolling for a fall class, the year 1 class. One of the beloveds who asked a question today, a very deep question, had just come back from the year 1 spring class that just started. But we are now enrolling for a class that will begin in the fall at the very end of October. So if you have questions about that, you want more information, there's a link on sufiuniversity.org/info, INFO. And if you want to speak with one of our team members, there's a link there to get your free spiritual growth consultation, but that will just get you in touch with a team member that can speak with you about whatever your questions are. So you're welcome to set up an appointment through that link. And they're all beloveds who've been on this path and with this organization and been through the school for many, many years, and very happy to help you in any way that we can. And you'll see another option on that page as well for a course that will take you deeper into that. There's a process that we have called the Remembrance, which is a heart-centered meditation that is, with all of the Sufism is about purifying the heart and returning to that true divine essence that Abdul Qadir spoke about this evening, and really learning to be in the world as your true divine essence. And that we have a practice called the Remembrance. There's a 7-day e-course on that page that you can sign up for as well.